Nicole Brown Simpson, May 19, 1959, June 12, 1994, was the ex-wife of former professional American football player and actor O.J. Simpson, to whom she was married from 1985 to 1992, and the mother of their two children, Sydney and Justin. She was murdered at her home in Los Angeles, California, on June 12, 1994, along with her friend, restaurant waiter Ron Goldman, 2 years after her divorce from Simpson. Simpson, who had a legal history of physically abusing, stalking and making death threats toward Brown, was arrested and charged with both murders. After a controversial and highly publicized criminal trial, Simpson was acquitted of all charges, but found liable for both deaths in a civil lawsuit in 1997. Early life. Brown was born on May 19, 1959, in Frankfurt, West Germany, to Judith Ann Judy Brown, née c. 1931, and Louis Hezekiel Lou Brown, 1923–2014. Her mother was German and her father was American. After moving to the U.S., she attended Rancho Alamitos High School in Garden Grove, California, and later Dana Hills High School in Dana Point, California, where she graduated in 1977. Relationship with O.J. Simpson. Brown met Simpson in 1977 when she was 18 years old and working as a waitress at a Beverly Hills private club called the Daisy. Although Simpson was still married to his first wife, Marguerite, the two began dating. Simpson and Marguerite divorced in March 1979. Simpson and Brown were married on February 2, 1985, 5 years after his retirement from professional football. The marriage lasted 7 years, during which time they had 2 children, Sydney B. 1985 and Justin B. 1988. Simpson was investigated multiple times by the police for domestic violence and pleaded no contest to spousal abuse in 1989. Brown filed for divorce on February 25, 1992, citing irreconcilable differences. Following the divorce, Simpson and Brown got back together. Audio released during the murder trial of O.J. Simpson revealed that Brown called 911 on October 25, 1993, crying and saying that, Simpson is going to beat the shit out of me. After this incident, the relationship would end for a second and final time. Death. Brown lived at 875 South Bundy Drive in Brentwood, Los Angeles, California, with her 2 children. On the evening of Sunday, June 12, 1994, Brown, age 35, was stabbed to death outside her home along with her friend, 25-year-old restaurant waiter Ron Goldman. Her body was found shortly after midnight on June 13. She was lying in the fetal position in a pool of blood. An autopsy determined that Brown had been stabbed 7 times in the neck and scalp, and had a 14 cm long, 5.5 inches gash across her throat, which had severed both her left and right carotid arteries and breached her right and left jugular veins. The wound on Brown's neck was so severe it had penetrated a depth of 1.9 centimeters, 0.75 inches into her cervical vertebrae, nearly decapitating her. She also had defensive wounds on her hands. Brown's funeral was held on June 16 at the St. Martin of Tours Catholic Church in Brentwood, with mourners including Simpson and their children, members of Brown's family, Al Cowlings, house guest Cato Kalin, and Steve Garvey. Brown is buried in Ascension Cemetery in Lake Forest, California. Aftermath. Simpson was tried for the murders of both Brown and Goldman. In October 1995, after a public trial that lasted nearly 9 months, he was acquitted. In a 1997 civil trial, a jury found him liable for the wrongful deaths of Brown and Goldman and awarded $19.5 million in damages to their families. Simpson would later be jailed for an unrelated armed robbery at a Las Vegas hotel in 2008. In 1996, after the conclusion of the trial, a judge granted Simpson's petition to give him full custody of Sydney and Justin. Brown's parents continued unsuccessfully to fight for custody. Following the deaths of Brown and Goldman, the townhouse at the site of their killing, 875 South Bundy Drive, sat empty for 2 years, until the next owner extensively remodeled it and had the address changed. Foundation. A foundation, Nicole Simpson Foundation, was established in 1994 in her memory. Later renamed the Nicole Brown Charitable Foundation, it reportedly cut back on grant-making in 1999 due to a drop in donations and questionable management practices. Portrayals. Brown was portrayed by Jessica Tuck in the television movie The O.J. Simpson Story. She was portrayed by Sandra Olson in Reenactment of the Century. She will be portrayed by Charlotte Kirk in Joshua Newton's upcoming film Nicole and O.J. and by Mena Suvari in The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. See also List of unsolved murders. O.J. Simpson robbery case. References. Citations. Sources. External links. Case files. Simpson. Court TV. Archive from the original on February 3, 2004. Court TV's complete coverage of the O.J. Simpson murder case. Nicole Brown Simpson at Find a Grave. Nicole Brown Simpson on IMDb. Nicole Brown Simpson's death. Famously dead.